Live. We're having some I don't know why my phone's not charging. So if we die at some point, I'm
Good
sorry.
evening, Instagram. We weren't able to get on Facebook, so we are here on Instagram and on the YouTube.
The YouTube and the Insta.
What up?
What's going on, yo? We're talking about hormones.
So much bigger than you right now. Look at that one.
Yeah.
I'm just a giant. Looks like I'm a giant, but we're gonna not do that.
Giant crystal. So, we're talking about hormones. You want to start it off there, babe?
You're gonna start it off because I started off last week.
No, you didn't. We talked about sleep last week.
Yeah, I started it off.
No, I talked about sleep.
Okay, I'm gonna start it off because Robert's a wimp.
I feel like you make more sense talking about hormones than me.
Okay, let's talk about hormones. Everyone wants to say female hormones, estrogen, progesterone. Men want to talk about testosterone, but realistically, we all have all different kinds of hormones. We all have, they're literally all over in us. There's your thyroid, there are so many hormones that are going on in your body.
Yes.
So, you can get these tested. You can get them looked at to see if something's going on with you in particular that you need to focus on. Not one other person with another hormone problem is going to know what your issue is. So, my recommendation, if you're feeling like you have some sort of hormone thing going on, I suggest getting them tested. Talk to someone who is going to understand your symptoms and tell you which test to go get. So what else are we gonna say about it? I have had my hormones tested twice within the last year. I've had a lot of different things go crazy. Neurotransmitters, sex hormones, all of that kind of stuff. I've had it all looked at, and I've done things for myself. I've made a lot of YouTube videos on how I'm helping myself to get better. I think number one, a big thing for anyone who is having any hormone issues, do not try and cut and do not try and do anything crazy with your diet. Make sure you're eating enough food and actually providing nutrients to your body. That means eating meat. That means eating maybe some organ meats if you can. But making sure to get nutrient-dense foods that work well for your body, foods that are not going to cause any extra stressors. Thing number two is going to be make sure you're getting rid of the extra stressors in your body. If your workouts are too intense, feel free to lighten them up. Honestly, that was the last thing I did, and that's the one thing that's actually worked for me. And make sure that you're getting plenty of sleep. Extra stressors also being like friends, family, things like that. If there is a person that is stressing you the heck out, you might want to try and do something about that. If there is a situation, if work is causing it, you need to find a way to take a step back. You don't have to quit it. You don't have to do anything crazy, but do something to help yourself get better, because you're never going to get better if you continue the same cycle over and over and over again. Wow, that was a lot of words.
Totally agree.
I can get super passionate about this stuff because people talk about hormones like, oh yeah, I have a hormone issue, oh yeah, this and that and the other. But it's like nobody ever talks about breaking it down and like how each person is so individual that what works for one person may not work for the other. I've literally been working on doing this for almost over a year now. And guess what? I'm sick and tired of it. And when I hear that it was so easy for someone else, I get frustrated. But then I remember that my body's not their body. My stresses are not their stresses. So we can never compare and contrast like the differences between each person.
Yeah.
Woo! Did you guys get enough of Crystal's words?
Ooh, doggy. So, as far as hormones relate to guys, you all need to test as on a regular basis as well. Like, I recommend getting like a hormone panel done every 6 months to a year, depending on what level of activity you're doing and if any changes, what age you are, for instance. Typically, if you're younger, you don't need to test as often. However, because people are younger, they often don't test at all. They just assume everything's right, and then they kind of dig themselves into a hole. So, like, for me doing a competition prep, naturally, without any exogenous hormones, a lot's changing from a metabolic and a hormonal standpoint. So I'm testing my hormones about every 6 months or so, and I'm curious to see as a natural athlete how my numbers are affected versus someone that is enhanced, because your hormones do take a hit. I do think that being in a keto adapted state and eating ketogenic sources, eating like cholesterol, for instance, diets high in fat and cholesterol. I mean, cholesterol is a precursor to testosterone. So knowing that and acting on that's going to be really good. I've got other friends that are competitive athletes, and they'll go very, very low on dietary fat, and they totally tank their hormones. Like mine are definitely decreasing by being in such a caloric deficit, but I can mitigate the downward trend of hormones by keeping my dietary fat intake very high, relatively speaking, throughout the course of a contest prep. So that's something very noteworthy. And a lot of people, like with natural bodybuilding, this is kind of a tangent here, but they ask about testosterone replacement therapy, TRT. Like, why can I not just stay at a healthy, natural level and compete as a natural bodybuilder? Because natural bodybuilders do see a dip in their testosterone, in their hormones. So it would be unfair to them because they're not taking in those exogenous hormones just to stay at natural levels. Because staying at a natural level when you're in a caloric deficit is not natural. So kind of one of the downside effects of doing a competition prep, both for male and female, you're going to see a dip in hormones there, hormone baseline there, but you can mitigate that and minimize that by being in a keto adapted state. So that's kind of a little tangent on hormones.
That's my little spiel. That was about 10 minutes, so we'll do some questions and all of that. You want to do YouTube?
Yeah, I don't know why these YouTube questions are...
It's because it's
some
on
messages
the phone.
such as potential spam, all messages are visible. That's what I want.
Praying for your sister. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
You were looking slim in the face. I am looking slim in the face.
face.
Thank you.
Hey, says Aaron.
Current macros for me are 155 fat, 125 protein, and 10 to 15 total carbs.
Thanks for being so open and sharing your journey with us. Absolutely.
Absolutely, positively. A lot more questions on Instagram than there is on YouTube.
Hello, we'll be in and out. Hope all is well. Well, thank you.
Thinking I have hyperthyroid. I have a lot of the symptoms, and I feel like I need an energy drink every day, which I don't like to do. Was told keto is bad diet for hyperthyroid. My gut says that's wrong.
Okay, can I just say something? And I'm not saying that you don't have it, but I thought the same thing, and I got my thyroid tested, and my adrenals were tanked, like so bad. And I had to like stop all caffeine. I had to stop doing energy drinks. I had to stop doing coffee. I had to stop going crazy with it because I was overdoing myself. So my adrenals were so fatigued, but at the same time I was like trying to overdo the caffeine. So I was overdoing what wasn't even working properly in the first place. So if you are craving, like you need caffeine in the middle of the day, the last thing you need is caffeine in the middle of the day. Make sure you're getting plenty of sleep. Make sure that you're going to bed and waking up around the same times every day. We talked about sleep last week. It's super, super important to have a regular schedule and to make sure that the caffeine that you're going to have later in the day is not going to be beneficial for your rest at night. You know, and I'm not saying that you also don't have hypothyroidism. That's something that you could definitely get tested, but I would also definitely like weigh out what might be a thyroid thing. Could also be maybe you're overdoing it a little bit.
And what are a lot of females in particular, they will have like these hypothyroid like symptoms because they're not eating enough overall calories.
So true.
So then they start hearing all this talk about you got to have carbs to jumpstart your hormones, get a regular cycle. When carbs is not the solution, that's just a band-aid. Like carbs do have an effective jumpstarting and regulating your cycle, but that's just a band-aid to the underlying issue, which is not eating enough total calories. So make sure if you're having those symptoms, you're not depriving yourself of enough fuel.
You can actually do the same thing with a carb up that you can with a caloric increase in food.
A keto caloric.
Yeah,
increase.
keto caloric increase, like refeed, rather than having carbs, and it does the same exact thing. Hello from Jacksonville, Arkansas. Sending positive vibes, Crystal. Thank you. Today's vlog was the best one you have ever released. Miss y'all. That's funny. Isaac said that.
Yeah, that's the vlog that was
Yeah.
in a minute.
Love the hormone talk. Stalls for middle-aged women seem to be a common thing. Hormones must be played there. Here.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a middle-aged woman, you're going through, menopause and all the hormonal, chaos that entails. So, like, when things like that are happening drastically, of course, I'm not going through menopause, so I can't really speak from experience here. But I will say that I have had a lot of clients that are going through it, and things don't happen rapidly. Like, with regard to body compositional changes, like your body's going through a whole bunch of changes hormonally speaking, and you can't really expect everything to be super crisp and efficient and streamlined when your body has to get its own stuff figured out. So when you're going through that, I would highly encourage you to prioritize being healthy and building muscle and improving your overall composition by adding lean muscle tissue over just going crazy hardcore on cutting calories and trying to burn body fat.
Totally. My back is getting better. Doctor says to do body weight stuff this month. What do you recommend besides body weight lunges and squats? There is pull-ups, push-ups. You can do a bunch of planks. You can do, what else? There's like a bunch of kickbacks that you can do with your legs. You can do, what else? What other? I mean, you could do jumping jacks. You can do... There's a lot of different things you could do. You could do dips on a bench or with a bench assisted machine. There's a bunch of different things you can do.
Hi, Crystal and Robert. Did a reverse diet starting in June. At about October, weight plateaued but kept pushing calories higher. Started seeing a few pounds sticking a few weeks ago. Is it too soon to introduce a second cut? A good recommendation on cutting time and bulking time, again, this is going to be highly individualized, but I never encourage someone to, like, you need to be like at a 3-to-1 ratio. So if you're cutting for 3 months, for instance, 90-day cut, then try and be in a caloric surplus for 3 times that, so 9 months. That's what I would recommend. That's just kind of a good baseline.
Someone asked, what were the indications your hormones were off? So for me personally, Robert kept telling me I was a zombie. That was fun.
Yeah.
I was really tired literally all the time. I had a lot, like very, very high anxiety for no reason. I was crying a lot. I was very depressed. What else did I have that was going on?
Pretty unpleasant to be around.
Yeah, I was pretty unpleasant to be around, but it wasn't because I was just so angry. It was more so because I was just a dead person. I could not function. I was having a lot of binging tendencies, and I just felt really bad overall. My joints all hurt. My workouts sucked. I didn't have any energy ever. I just wasn't my normal self, and it was that way for quite some time before I actually did something about it, because I thought, it's all in my head, I can do better, I can be okay, it's fine. But truth be told, there was a deeper issue going on that I wasn't ever going to fix if I kept the same lifestyle and the same systems that I was doing.
Got a question here. Haven't had a period since starting keto a year and a half ago. Up my calories for 2 months. Still no period. Calories at 2,800 a day now. What were your calories at prior to the 2-month mark? Were they much lower than that, or did you do a pretty aggressive jump up to the 2,800?
I also have to ask, what is your protein to fat ratio? That's going to play a big role in it too. Fat is very helpful for helping to regulate your hormones. Making sure that you have proper and adequate amount of protein is also very important. But if you're doing net carbs, and your fat's at like 60% or something like that, that may not be optimal for you. So even though you're eating at a surplus, you may not be getting the proper amounts for the ratio for you. Also, things take so much longer than a couple months. I know that's terrible to hear, but when you go off of birth control, they tell you that your hormones will probably not go back to normal for a year. So keep in mind that like you just have to keep pushing. Make sure that you're taking really good care of your body, even if that means you have to gain a couple of pounds. It's going to be better overall for sure.
Yeah. How are you handling the hunger so far on your current macros? I am handling it pretty good. I'm definitely hungry, but I am not like dying. Gotta love being a woman with all the hormonal imbalances. It's hard to get regulated. The struggle is real.
Someone said, is there a certain doctor to see to have your hormone panel done, or can I have one done when I see my general practitioner? Most general practitioners won't do random tests because you just want them. They should, because it's really your choice on what gets done to your body. But I went through Allie Miller. I talked to her through a consultation. We kind of figured out which tests were going to be best for me, and we ran those. But you should be able to see, if you're a female or male, you should be able to see your sex doctor, so a gynecologist or your urologist or whatever it is. You should be able to ask them if it's sex related, and then endocrinologist would be really great for a lot of the other ones too.
Yeah.
Eating meat, being keto healed my hypothyroidism. That's amazing. Totally amazing.
Calories are over 2,000 to 2,200 before the jump. That's a pretty good amount. But I mean, it kind of depends on how many calories you're burning too. Like, are you in an energy surplus or energy deficit? I don't know what your current activity levels are or were. But again, it's probably going to take more than 2 months. I mean, 2,800 calories is great though. Like, are you seeing any adverse effects to that high calories or no?
So I take it you aren't coming up to Ohio for the Arnold, LOL. Yeah, the Arnold is canceled, but we are going to Ohio because we're doing the Keto at the Cabin with Jessica Ty. And that is this weekend, so we're super, super excited about that. Unfortunate that the Arnold was canceled, but we weren't going to that anyways, so.
Yeah, kind of crazy. Here we go.
St. Louis.
Hi, Crystal and Robert. Hope you are both doing good. Hello, howdy to you as well. I struggle to keep total carb counts low with the veggies I like to eat. How many veggies do you consume? I don't have any veggies, honestly. But
Okay.
I keep veggies minimal when I do eat veggies.
I think I remember Allie Miller saying one time that strict keto can stress your adrenals and hormones. How can I adhere to DSK program with only 10 grams of carbs but still support hormones and adrenals? Like I mentioned before, if you have hormone issues, do not do a cut. If you have hormone issues, do not try to do anything crazy with your nutrition other than feeding yourself properly, plenty of food, plenty of protein, plenty of fat. My personal opinion, I've done extremely well with a very low amount of carbohydrates.
Yeah.
So I don't personally believe that. I think it is probably up to each individual. And to me, keto is the proper human diet, as Dr. Ken Berry would say. So I don't feel like I have to have anything extra because I feel like I'm doing what's proper for my body.
And I had Allie Miller on my podcast, and she actually said that it's more often than not just the low calories that's causing that adrenal and hormonal issue.
Yeah,
a lot of
she
people
actually
eat
said
lower
that.
calories because they are strict keto, because it is a very satiating diet.
Yeah.
But it's not that it's strict keto, it's the low calories that's getting you in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Keto Savage Power Couple, for all you do. Well, thank you.
Do you believe in fasted weightlifting workouts? I always train fasted. I think it's preferred. What are your thoughts on eating for the body type, ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph? It's a good question. I feel like people probably put a little too much emphasis on that. Like, you can't really change your body. I mean, you can definitely change your body type, but you can't change, like, your parental genetics. You can change your epigenetics, so just optimize for life and don't worry too much about whether you're an ectomorph, endomorph, or mesomorph. If you are an ectomorph, you're gonna have to probably eat more food. If you're endomorph, you're gonna put on body fat usually easier. So prioritizing proper cutting protocols is gonna be key. So just kind of knowing and being self-aware of that.
Thank you. That's actually a good mindset to focus on while body decides to catch up with my diet. Yes. I'm definitely not under eating. I've been stopped doing intermittent fasting and make sure to eat if I'm hungry, and typically don't consume much caffeine until recently because I feel so tired midday. It's good.
Would love to meet y'all when you're up here in Marysville, Washington. We will definitely be there, and we'd love to meet you as well. Come see us.
I definitely make sure to have my adrenals checked as well as full thyroid panel. Absolutely. Does keto really kill coronavirus? Keto doesn't kill the coronavirus, but being keto can absolutely help. There is a study, I started reading it. It's really too much doctor medical stuff for me. But what I've gotten from the breakdown is that people who are keto are a lot more healthy in general, and that there's a lot of it I don't understand, but it doesn't kill it. It doesn't get rid of it, but it can help you fight it.
You're
Just
more
like-
resistant to infection. You got a
Yes.
better immune system. I literally
Yes.
never get sick.
I do get sick. I just got over being sick, but that's the first time I've gotten sick in such a long time. And I used to get sick all the time. The inflammation in your body is so much less, and you are way less likely to get any type of virus that comes around. It does the same thing for any other type of thing. Like all these other illnesses that we're talking about, I made a post today. All these other illnesses that we're talking about, people are literally changing their diet and reversing them because it's just a better way of living. It's the inflammation's so much lower. Your body just doesn't respond and react poorly because of all the sugar in your system.
Do you know any good keto supportive doctors in Central Arkansas? I don't know of any keto specific doctors.
We
in
don't really
Arkansas
go
at all.
to the doctor.
Yeah. Just started cut back on fat to try and break the stall. I was trying to double fat to protein. Would you keep the double fat for hormones? It kind of depends on an individual level. Like, I definitely would recommend cutting with higher fats to help hormones, though, for sure. Watching this while eating pizza, I feel like an intruder. Robert,
That's
I think
funny.
I remember you talking about getting low white blood cell numbers on blood draws. I have had that a couple of times, including most recent, and was curious. Yeah, I need to get mine checked again. They weren't like crazy low; they were just on the lower end.
Yeah, we had a bunch of people freak out about Robert's low white blood cell, and there's actually answers to that. I don't remember who it was that kind of explained it to you, but it's not gonna be anything crazy. It's not anything crazy for Robert. If I have to,
A few years ago, I was basically vegan, hardly any meat or protein in diet, and low calories, and running excessively. Lost my period for over a year. When I started eating more protein, I got it back. Yeah, you gotta have protein.
That's amazing.
I had all the symptoms of hormone imbalance. Keto for life changed my life. That's what I like to hear.
That's awesome.
I reversed my type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure with keto. That's what I'm talking about. How are your energy levels on the cut? Pretty dang good. I feel like $1,000,000. How do I boost my energy level when I'm going to lift weights? Make sure you have a proper electrolyte dialed in. That's probably the single best thing you can do. Like, that makes or breaks my workout. Do you think a food allergy could affect overall results from the DSK protocol? I mean, don't eat something that you have a food allergy to if you can help it. It may take you a little while to kind of like re-regulate. Well, if you have like an allergy or you're super sick for a week, keep the macros the same for a week so you can reestablish that baseline before changing them the following week. Do you think OMAD speeds up the fat loss process? It can. There's a lot of factors here. That's why I'm doing OMAD right now. It's a longer fasting window. I feel better. I have more energy. It helps from a growth hormone standpoint. If your calories are low, I do recommend OMAD. All right, y'all. We got a lot to do today still, so we're gonna start doing it. Y'all have a wonderful day. We love y'all, and we'll talk to you soon. Toodles.
Bye. Toodles.
Toodles. How do I end on